Brian, when you make, well, it's like concrete in Minecraft, what do you need to make it?
It's or not gunpowder. It's sand and gravel,
Oh, okay,
and
that's
then whatever
actually
color dye.
easier than I thought that was gonna be. Maybe I will, because I was thinking, like, I was talking about making a bounce house with you, I think a while ago. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I should do that since this is gonna be my last week now, because I have new job. But I'm like, I could put that finally in, because I always said if I was gonna make the bounce house for the amusement park, I wanted to make it my final week at that place to celebrate no longer having to deal with it. And I'm like, I don't know, because initially I think we talked about doing wool as like the outside material, but I'm like, I kind of like the look of concrete better because it looks sleeker.
Are you thinking white concrete or?
Uh, Different colors, because I know like a
Oh,
lot
okay.
of the ones that we sold and a lot of the ones I always see whenever I see bounce houses out places, it's like rainbow colored. So I'm like, I'll probably do
Okay,
some
like the red,
red,
yellow,
green,
blue, the
blue,
bright.
yeah, stuff like that. But that should be
Okay.
super easy to pull off then. Because my initial thought is I thought it was like gunpowder and clay for some reason. I'm like, that's gonna be a fucking bitch.
Oh yeah, no, that would be terrible.
Yeah. I'm like, I would have had to have prepared for that.
I do have a decent amount of gunpowder that I've tried to refrain from using.
Yeah, well, I don't want
Um,
to. The issue isn't so much because I have like two stacks of gunpowder, but I've been hanging on to it because I'm like, I'd much rather use those for rockets and not stupid
yeah.
shit. Speaking of the work stuff, though, not so much like related to my work, but like other work things. So, like, when you work from home, there's this whole thing you can do to get like deductibles and taxes and stuff, which basically says, like, I work from home, but 3 days a week I have to drive onto a job site. And so they'll deduct gas money out of that.
Yeah.
But they won't do that for you if, like, you work on location. So, like, driving into work every day, it's like, well, that's what you did when you signed up for the job. I'm like, that to me is dumb.
Yeah.
I'm like, if anything, I feel like it should be a thing right now where you should be able to have a certain amount of the gas money you spend every year deducted from your taxes if you're driving to work 5 days a week.
I'd be okay with that.
If I use my car for work, I have to go into an app called on Concor, and then I get paid for the mileage that I use with my car.
Mhm.
So when is the Mandalorian season 3 is supposed to be coming out? Is there gonna be a season 3?
There's gonna be a season 3, but I think it's delayed because of all the other Star Wars shows they're doing now.
Book of Boba Fett is
I don't
basically
even think it comes
Mandalorian
out this
season
year. I
3.
think it's gonna be next year. Yeah, basically. Because I know Obi-Wan comes out at the end of the month. I think Mandalorian is going to be the next one after that, though, but I also know they like threw in two other shows into the mix because there's the one about the guy from Rogue One, and then Ahsoka's getting her own show.
Apparently, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan get a fight scene.
Yeah, I've heard that he shows up. I mean, there'll probably be flashbacks too, because I know Hayden Christen's supposed to be a supporting role in it. And like outside of
Yeah.
the fact that I think they'll have him play Vader too, I'm like, I imagine they'll still use James Earl Jones for the voice. So I'm like, clearly Hayden Christensen has to have like Anakin flashbacks. You know what game actually looks kind of good,
Mm.
but like I want to see more on it before I'd ever suggest it, is that Evil Dead game.
A new zombie game.
It's basically Dead by Daylight, but like they have random AI enemies in there too. It's sort of like a mix of Dead by Daylight with the bigger like Friday the 13th game atmosphere.
Hmm.
I was watching like streamers play it the other day, and I'm like, it looks fun. I'm like, unfortunately, those streamers are like big horror game players, so they also saw the movies, so they were naming stuff. I'm like, I've never seen an Evil Dead movie and never will. So I'm like, I'm not. I mean, it still seems fun without knowing it, but I don't know if it's one of those games where if you're not a fan of the movies, it would get old very quickly, or if it would still be entertaining.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's my issue with a lot of those games. It's like, I love to play Dead by Daylight once every like couple of, basically for like 2 weeks every year is when I'll play Dead by Daylight. It's real fun for that period of time, but then I don't touch it again.
I actually think I uninstalled it because it was too big and I don't have space for it.
You know, I was thinking about like the big delays that happen with Xbox and Bethesda, and that has me more worried on the PlayStation side. Cause I'm like, oh no, I'm like, what if Spider-Man gets delayed till 2024?
I didn't even realize they were making another Spider-Man game.
That would be the big sad. Yeah, they did like an announcement for it a year ago, and they're like, we're making Spider-Man 2. It comes out in 2023. It's like, you didn't have to do this. We all know. It was your most profitable game of 2018.
There's no way you weren't going to do that.
It's like you didn't fuck everyone else out of playing Spider-Man on every other system just to do one game and quit. Insomniac is going to have its own Marvel like gaming universe that can only be accessed on PlayStation. Because the next game they're doing after Spider-Man is Marvel's Wolverine.
Oh.
And they unveiled that that was also going to be PlayStation exclusive.
That's annoying.
And I think that's why there's been a lot of like talk about like Marvel isn't just going to do a one company deal. And I'm like, and I think that studio is the reason why. You know, Marvel's Avengers was supposed to initially have Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange in it. Like a leak revealed they were going to be in there. And then the fucking developers of the game said that the characters would be too hard, so they weren't going to do them.
What?
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, you bunch of babies. Yeah, there was literally, like, there was, like, leaked audio and shit that proved that, like, Wanda was a character.
Need to run.
And there were some, like, files that showed some early moves for Doctor Strange. And then they complained that balancing would be too hard. They're like, our game's not built for magic characters. Like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, I'm like, the only powers you ever used in the game is the 3 fucking action buttons. Otherwise, it's punch, kick, and shoot. I'm like, you're meaning to tell me that's too hard for you?
Yes.
I saw a tweet the other day that was saying how Doctor Strange is down so bad across the entire multiverse he has no bitches. And I was like, you know, that movie left me with an existential crisis. Because I've always thought, you know, out in the multiverse, there's got to be a version of me that isn't sad and lonely at the age of 26. And then I saw that movie. I'm like, you know, maybe I've had it all backwards. Maybe I've always just thought, you know, this is the multiverse where I never found love. But, like, maybe I'm just so bad at romance that in the entire multiverse, I'm sad and lonely.
That's the spirit.
Like, and that puts things into perspective. Because I'm like, at one point, I was like, you know, at least there's a version of me out there that figured it out. And now I'm like, you know, maybe there's not. All of them are just sitting there hoping that another version of me has done it. And unfortunately, this version of me had to go see the Doctor Strange movie and learn that that's not happening.